professional growth and to showcase our skills and our talents and our experiences to the world. So, ma'am, we have with us Ma'am Mosma. She will be giving this session. So we are Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. We are a community, Microsoft-led community that globally empowers students through different programs of Microsoft and helps the student bring an impact in the community of technology and tech field. Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, Air University. I'm sorry, Alicia, can you start the recording? Okay.
Yes, I did. Continue.
ठीक है, thank you. So, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors is a campus-wise chapter. Student Ambassadors Air University is a campus-wise chapter of Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. In Air University, this chapter started in, I guess, March this year, and now we are building a community where we are selecting students to be the force for the good, and we are also trying to bring an impact in the Air University and beyond its premises by helping the students gain experience and expertise in the field of technology. I am Maha Manzoor. I will be the host of today's event. I am Alpha Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, and I am also the Vice President or the co-lead of Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Air University. We also have with us Alicia Nakwi. She is the moderator for today's event. She is Beta Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. She is also the president or the lead of Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador Air University community. I would like to extend my gratitude and warm welcome to Ma'am Muazma Zahid. She is Principal Engineering Manager at Microsoft. She is also the President of Pakistan Women in Computing and also a startup advisor. Ma'am Muazma has a wide experience in the field of tech and also in computing. So she will be guiding us and giving her feedback and sharing her experiences about LinkedIn and how we can set our profile and how we can be visible to the world and showcase our skills to the world. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Maha. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Let me share my screen and I'll get started. Let me know if the screen is visible and it is moving as well.
Yes, ma'am, the screen is visible and it is also moving.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Maha. Thank you, everyone, for arranging this session. I have some bandwidth issues today, so I would be saving some of the bandwidth by not enabling my video. This is an open session, so during the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature, and I will get to your questions towards the end of the session. What this session is actually to walk you through what LinkedIn is, how do you actually build your online brand, professional brand using LinkedIn, and how do you actually network and also use a bunch of other features that LinkedIn actually provides. So without any kind of further ado, let's dig into that. Starting with my own introductions, as Maha introduced me, I am a principal engineering manager at Microsoft Azure in a data and AI team. I've been a long-term data and AI person, worked in the industry for over 15 years. And I'm also a LinkedIn coach and instructor, which means the slides and everything that I'm presenting today is actually by LinkedIn. All of this material is from LinkedIn and happy to share with all of you today. I do a lot of community work and try to give back to the community, especially women in computing. So I lead a nonprofit called Pakistani Women in Computing and also do a lot of other work in several other organizations such as Women Who Code, and also Anita Bjork, which is the largest women in tech network. So happy to be here. This is my link tree. Feel free to connect with me afterwards. And if you have any questions that I'm not able to get to today, I'm happy to answer those as well. So getting into the topic, what I'm going to be covering today in this workshop is starting with introductions of LinkedIn. You all know what LinkedIn is, but talking about why it's important, why a professional brand on LinkedIn is important. How do you build your LinkedIn profile? How do you build your professional network on LinkedIn? What do you do on LinkedIn to connect with opportunities, especially jobs as you graduate from your universities? You will be looking for jobs, internships also, and then a lot of other features that recently LinkedIn has introduced around freelancing and some of the other things. I will also walk you through a sample example of a great LinkedIn profile and also share some resources towards the end of the presentation. Again, please use the chat feature for your questions and I'll get to them towards the end of the session. And Maha and others can help me if there's something urgent that is very relevant to what I'm talking, and I can go through that while I'm going through the presentation as well. Again, my network is a little bit choppy today, so if there's any issues and you're not able to hear me, please let me know as well. So starting with some of the facts here in terms of the data, as I'm a data-driven person, 9 out of 10 employers around the world use LinkedIn during the hiring process. That's the reality, and that's what we know based on data. So if you're looking for jobs, even starting to build a profile, you don't have to wait for the day when you're actually to begin your search. You have to think about your professional brand on LinkedIn way before that. And that's the reason we are talking about LinkedIn platform to all of you today. What is a professional brand, right? So I would like to ask this question to most of you. What do you think is a great brand? How do you identify your brand? And how do you know that you showcase that you are the right choice? I'm actually getting some feedback. So if everybody who's on the call can mute themselves, that would be great. Thank you. So the question is like, what makes a good brand? So let's say you have to go buy a cell phone today. How do you actually go and choose the best company? What do you think about it when you are actually choosing that brand versus some other brand? The reason I'm asking this question is similar to when you are applying for roles and when there are a bunch of other folks who are applying for the same role, you as your professional brand has to stand out in that sea of so many resumes and profiles. And why somebody will choose you over somebody else is something that is unique about you. That's the same case as you think about any of the brand that you go and buy stuff for, right? Why do you actually choose that particular brand? It could be the cost, it could be the features, it could be the promise that the brand has for you, it could be the reliability, it could be any of those things. So think about all of that from a personal perspective and think that what is unique about you and why should an employer choose you? And that is the question you have to answer. And is your professional brand, especially the professional brand on LinkedIn, reflecting who you are as an employer, as an employee of for the future employer or not? So a lot of you might have thought that, so wait, I have my own brand. Yes, you have. So the important thing that you have to understand is your brand is your promise to those around you. It is your friends, your colleagues. It's going to be your future employer. And it shows that how unique you are as compared to a bunch of other folks that are in the same, let's say, group, that are applying for the same role, that might be in your same class in your university, and so on and so forth. And the important thing that I want you to remember is you can shape your brand by the way you present yourself to others. Especially in the digital world where everything is online, it's really, really important to put your best foot forward in terms of your online profiles, especially on LinkedIn, as it's a professional network, and make sure that others know that you are unique and that's these are the features why you're unique and they should hire you. I'm still hearing some feedback. If Maha, you can help me to mute everybody who's not talking, that would be great. Thank you. So the value of your brand, right? So going back to like you have a professional brand. Again, going back to the question that I asked, like why somebody should choose you. How does an employer, coach, or college decide who to choose, right? When you apply for, let's say, a master's program, you have essay that you write about yourself, you write about your life journey. Those are all important things that you could reflect upon, and that is actually an input that goes into consideration of why somebody should choose you. What is the promise that you have for your employer in that terms, in terms of some team that you're joining, in terms of, let's say, a college or school that you're joining? It's important for you to understand that. And what can they expect from you? Again, these are the questions you have to answer, and I'll walk you through how you are going to answer that in a LinkedIn profile. And last but not least, how are you unique? So I actually sit on university recruiting on Microsoft, and I do interviews throughout the year. We get thousands of resumes every single day for every single role that we open. How does a company like Microsoft, for example, chooses somebody? So starting from your resume to your LinkedIn profile to how you actually show up in your initial interviews, this is the whole process. And LinkedIn is part of it, and we want to start there to make sure that we put our best foot forward. There are some things that you can do in terms of your brand, thinking about like how you're unique. Everybody has skills, everybody has projects, everybody has a bunch of other things that you put on your resume, but you can go further than that, that beyond your skills, you can build your network on LinkedIn, because a lot of hiring actually happens because of those connections. And I'm going to walk you through that also. There's a lot of things that you can add value, you can add information, you can write blogs, you can actually share your learnings, your projects with others on LinkedIn. And that's a great way to actually showcase that you are a thought leader, you're a person who is actually not just doing stuff, but also sharing your knowledge with other folks. The thing that I really look at, let's say when I'm looking at resume, is what are your values? What are you as a person? What is that you are passionate about? For example, if anybody looks at my LinkedIn profile, it would be very obvious to them that I'm passionate about giving back, I'm passionate about mentorship, I'm passionate about doing a lot of work in diverse communities, especially people who don't have the same access like everybody else. And then you can also showcase your goals. So those are all the important things that you're going to learn today in this session. And I want you to start thinking about that, if not already, in your LinkedIn profiles. So I would like to take a pause here and all of you to actually use the chat feature. Think about 3 words, how your friends would actually describe you. And then think about 3 words, how your colleagues will actually describe you. And why I'm doing this exercise is you can start with these 3 words as a starting point in your LinkedIn profile, in your header, in your summary section, and some of the other sections that I'm going to talk about. So take a pause here. I'll take a 30-second pause here. Reflect upon like what are the 3 unique things about you in terms of what your friends think about you, and what are 3 things that are unique about you in terms of what uh, your colleagues, or by colleagues, let's say you have not never worked, any of the people you have actually worked in your university, any of the projects that you have done with them, how do you think they describe you? What are the key attributes? And those are the attributes that are going to be unique about you. As you go through the chat, you will see that the words that you come up with might not be the same words that somebody else comes up with. So I want you to do this exercise. If you can do it right now, that would be awesome. If you want to do it afterwards as well, that's also okay. So start with that, and please use the chat feature to actually put that there. So while you're doing that, right, I want to actually add a little bit about the brand statements and why it is important to actually reflect upon who you are as a person. What do you bring to the table? What is unique about you in terms of your skills, in terms of the capabilities? And I also want to share some example brand statements. If you've not heard about this word or this this terminology called brand statement, it's really really important, because when you actually go and interview anywhere in the world, the first thing the interview starts with is they are going to ask you introduce yourself. So you have about 1 minute or 2 minutes to actually, sometimes even less than that, to go ahead and make a stronger impact. There are two ways you can go about it, and there are some other formats also that you can use. So one of the format is this, the one on the left hand side, and you can see an example of a person who's Debbie, who's describing who is she as a person. And what she's using is a framework called I do something to achieve, help, provide, dash. So if you fill in the blanks for yourself, this would be a good format for you as a brand statement. And use some of the terminologies that you just actually put in the chat in terms of reflecting about what is unique about you in terms of your brand statement. So think about that. I would like you all to, by the end of this workshop or towards end of this day, which is almost 9 p.m. for your time, would like you to come up with a brand statement for yourself and write it down and keep working on it until you kind of perfect it. And as you go, keep on changing it with the different experiences that you have. So that is one format. The other format is that you start by saying, I help doing something to do something. So an example is I help manufacturing organizations improve their processes to reduce waste and grow profits. So this is another kind of format. And this is very simple and short format, but very to the point. One of the other thing that I really like is when, let's say, I'm interviewing and I'm looking at profiles on LinkedIn or looking at resumes, I like to see something unique about you, going back to the thing that we talked before. Add a fun fact or a stat about your impact. For example, talk about, let's say, if I go back to the same statement that I help manufacturing, you can say I help manufacturing organizations improve their quality by 75% or something like that. And back that with the actual data, with the actual stuff that you have done using your projects in the past. Again, I know a lot of you would be thinking that we have not had any professional experiences, you're students. I'm going to provide you those resources also as part of this session. So you can actually build your LinkedIn profile based upon the projects that you do in your universities and colleges as a starting point, and then build upon your brand statement using those as an example. Hope this is useful and you know why I'm talking about what's a brand statement, what is your professional brand. Before I actually dig into what you need to do on your LinkedIn, it's important for you to have this whole picture of who you are as a person, what is your professional brand, and how do you build your brand statement. And the other important thing is it's very important that living in a digital world these days, everybody can look you up. So whatever you put out there is going to stay. I know a lot of people, sometimes they make mistakes, they want to go erase those stuff. A lot of people go to Google or Bing today and actually search you, right? A lot of companies, when they are trying to employ you, they are going to search. So go online, search for yourself and see what you find, right? That's another aspect. Also see that it's not just LinkedIn, it's a lot of other social media platforms. So they are also part of the bigger picture of your brand online. And professional brand can sometimes include some of these other brands. Some people are, let's say, have courses, some people have videos on YouTube, some people have Instagram, Facebook pages, things like that. So think about that overall in the context of who you are as a person and what is your professional brand. And always be careful of what you put out self, because it can really harm your professional brand in some ways as well if you do not follow if you're not professional in some of those places as well. So it is important that you think about what is the image that you want your future employer or your future colleagues and other people to actually find about you online. Some of the other facts about LinkedIn, in terms of network and connectivity, it is huge. It is expanding at a very fast pace. There are about 50 million plus employers on LinkedIn and millions of open job opportunities every single day. There are about 2.9 million groups on LinkedIn as well, and there are about 706 million professionals, and this number might have drastically changed in the last few months because of a lot of job changes happening throughout the world in about 200 countries or more. So LinkedIn is the place to go if you want to build a professional brand, if you want to connect with the folks who are the experts in the field, if you want to get that future job that you're thinking about. And that's why it's really important to think about that. So I'll take a pause here and just quickly rewind, kind of give you what we have talked about so far and what we are going to talk about next. So we started by talking about what is your professional brand, how and what is unique about you. I gave you an exercise to actually write down 3 words that are unique about you, from your friend's perspective and from somebody that you have worked in some kind of professional capacity. And we talked about online presence. We talked about a brand statement, and I gave you a couple of formats of how you can build your brand statement, and that is your one of the exercise for this session, to actually go write down your brand statement at the end of this session or in the next couple of days. So now let's jump into how do you build your LinkedIn profile, right? So the first thing and foremost thing is you have to go to LinkedIn and create a profile if you don't already have that. I hope that most of you are here because you saw this session on LinkedIn or in your community. So I'm assuming most of you would have a LinkedIn profile. But if you don't have, please go ahead and do that. You can also do it on the app, you can do it on the web. Uh, that is the very first step. The second step I want to quickly talk about, take a second or minute to actually walk through what is the difference between LinkedIn profile and resume. A lot of people get confused about the CV or resume that you actually put to that you actually submit for jobs versus LinkedIn profile. The big difference is that LinkedIn profile is a 360-degree view of you as a person. It's not about a particular role or a job that you're applying for. It is about a lot of other things. It is about your past experiences. It is about your volunteer experiences. It is about the projects that you do, the courses that you take, and a lot more information. A resume on CV is at most should be not more than 1 page. If you have more than 5 or 10 years of experience, maybe 2 pages. That is a very, very to the point summary of your LinkedIn profile and skill, which is directly related to the job that you're applying. So a resume should be completely tailored to the role that you're applying. And again, if you have more questions about your resume, I do have a bunch of resources in terms of PWIC work that we do at Pakistani Women in Computing, and I can definitely point you to actually go through those about how do you build a strong resume, and we have done several sessions in the past on that. This session is about LinkedIn, so again, we will be talking about what you can do on LinkedIn to stand out, how you can showcase a bunch of other things which are beyond your resume, and how do you actually stand out on LinkedIn. So a LinkedIn profile starts with a great photo. A lot of you might not know, but this is an internal kind of based on the data that we see on LinkedIn side. Members with profile photos receive 21% more views and nine times more connection requests as compared to people who don't have LinkedIn profile pictures. Humans are visual in nature, and we tend to actually see content or absorb content which is more visual in nature. So if you have a profile picture, there is a higher chance that you will get a connection request or you will get more views on your LinkedIn profile. The simple thing about LinkedIn profile picture, you don't need a fancy camera these days. If you have a simple cell phone, ask your friend or sibling or somebody in your household, stand in front of a clear background. Don't crop your pictures out of a I would say a family picture or something like that. Stand in front of a non-distracting background. Take a good picture being your natural self, looking into the camera, smile if you can, and make sure your face takes majority of the frame. It shouldn't be like you are too zoomed in that somebody has to really zoom in to see that. There's a great example on this screen. You can go and look at some of LinkedIn profiles and get some inspiration over there. But I cannot emphasize enough. A lot of time, people send LinkedIn requests to me, for example, and I have no idea who you are as a person if I don't know how I can relate with you in terms of starting with a good picture. So that is the first thing you have to do today. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile picture, please go ahead and do that. The next thing is your profile itself. Like, what are the important things that you need to go and update in your LinkedIn profile? LinkedIn profile is your story in your own words, right? You can click on this me icon to actually see the LinkedIn homepage. It will take you to your LinkedIn profile, and this is how it will appear to a lot of folks as well. So on the right hand side, there are a few sections that everybody sees, right? The couple of things that a lot of people again don't know, on your top side, on the top heading itself, there is your name. the heading. We will talk about heading in a second. Then if you want to showcase your education, like which university you are, you have an option to showcase on the top, or you can hide that if you don't want to. So it can be in your profile later, but if you want to showcase on the top, it's there. People also see how many connections you have. And then rest of the profile is kind of standard, and I'm going to walk you through. One thing that a lot of people again don't know is location is really, really important in terms of search. I know in the last 2 years remote work is really popular and a lot of people are working remote, especially if you're a freelancer and all. But a lot of recruiters, when they start their search on LinkedIn to look for employees, they start with locations, and this is a very common tag. And again, this is backed by data on the LinkedIn side that people actually start by searching in a particular industry, let's say IT industry, or let's say automotive or manufacturing, or whatever industry that you are inspiring or you are aspiring to actually go into. And they also start with location. So even if, let's say, you want to work for remote jobs, I would highly recommend to put a location industry, a primary location industry that you are interested in your LinkedIn profile. Now, next thing, so far we talked about start with the LinkedIn profile, go ahead and create the basic LinkedIn profile today if you have not already. Start with a good picture, start with important sections, including your education. Uh, is there a question? Okay. So start with that, start with that section, and also look at location or industry. Now, what is a headline? A lot of people again don't know that when somebody searches you in LinkedIn, let's say I'm looking for software engineers, I go in LinkedIn and search for software engineers, it is going to give me a long list of software engineers in a particular location. Again, from a recruiter perspective, it can return, let's say, hundreds of pages of bunch of software engineers. Let's say I'm looking in Islamabad, right? So it will show me hundreds of people who are software engineers or aspiring to be software engineers. So from a recruiter perspective, this is what they see. This is what an employer sees. So they see your picture, they see your name and your whatever name and title that you're given, and they see literally this one line, which is the header, which is your headline. So as a human, again, they have few seconds to decide which profile I'm going to go click and look more into detail. So you have again few seconds, less than few seconds to actually catch somebody's attention that this the person that I should go and click on their profile. So think about that when you actually set that out. And the exercise that I gave you a few minutes ago to talk about those three words, those could be good starting words to actually put in your header as well, or your headline as well. You don't have to be super fancy. A good way to put your headline could be something that you do or something that you're aspiring to be, some important characteristic about you, or some feature or skill that you think you're very strong at. So if you go today on LinkedIn, you'll see a lot of creative headlines. Feel free to borrow them, feel free to use them as a starting point and build on that. And then towards the end of the session, after the session, if some of you want me to review your LinkedIn profile, I'm happy to do that as well. And then again, going back to that from a recruiter perspective, think about that when they search and they see hundreds of profiles showing up, what is that you're writing will catch their attention. Now the next section, so we talked about profile picture, we talked about high level, like what shows up on the top, we talked about the headline. The next section, again, a lot of people don't know is the summary section. So it is the top summary section that shows up. When I get a lot of LinkedIn requests and I go click on them, I would say more than 70% of them have this section empty or less than maybe a sentence or that there. Again, it is backed by data that if your summary section is less than 40 words or less, you are not going to show up in the search results for other members as the top search. So if somebody searches for software engineer and your summary section is, let's say, 40 words or less, you're not going to show up in the first few pages, or at least in the, maybe in some cases, the first few, let's say 30 or 50 pages also, depending on what people are searching for. So it is important that you think about summary section as a very high level kind of executive summary of who you are. So one good framework could be, this is on the slides here, start with one or two sentences about who you are, Start with 3 or 5 sentences about your experiences and key passions in terms of the projects you've done, things that you're passionate about, things you're learning, things you want to grow into, and use the last couple of sentences about something which is unique about you in terms of your goals, how other members can engage with you, something that really catches their attention towards the end, and they have some actionable thing to know more about you, and they want to go further to kind of know more about you in your profile. So summary section again is really, really important. I cannot emphasize enough. And I've seen enough LinkedIn profiles to know that a lot of people don't put a good summary section there. So this is a great framework. I have an example on the screen here as well, and you will get the recording afterwards as well. So make sure your summary section is at least 40 words or so. So I'll take a pause here. If there are any questions, Maha, if you I can't see that screen while I'm sharing this one. So if there are any questions so far that are relevant, I'm happy to take a pause and to take that right now.
No, ma'am. So far, there are no questions.
Okay, awesome. So I'll take a pause again here to go back and just kind of summarize what we have talked about. If I'm talking too fast or if something is not clear, again, feel free to use chat to share that, and I will be happy to repeat what I'm saying here as well. So we started with what is online or professional brand. We talked about brand statement. I gave you an exercise to write about 3 words that are unique about you, that you think from your friend's perspective and your professional kind of network perspective. Then we went into talk about what is LinkedIn, how you go and actually build a LinkedIn profile, starting with a picture, starting with a headline, some of the sections like location, skills, and education, and then we talked about what a good summary looks like. So this is a good starting point of your LinkedIn profile. Again, in at the end, I will share the resources of you as students and job seekers. What are some of the things that you should go and add in your LinkedIn profile? So I want to spend a little bit of time here on building the professional network. And why it is important, again, as a student, it might not be evident right now, but as you enter the job market and as you grow in your career, you will realize that this is one of the most important things in the long term. And when I reflect back, if there's one thing that I will go back and change is to be more intentional about my professional network over the years, right? So I wanted to share some of those things, what you can do on LinkedIn. This is again backed by data. The 50% of the hires actually result from a personal connection. Personal connection, either somebody knows you, they have worked with you in the past, or they have seen an article by you, they know that you can do this. So you have been in connection with them through your community efforts or some of the other efforts. And this is something, if somebody can provide a referral for you, this is going to be a great thing for you to start your career journey. How LinkedIn works in terms of professional networks. So everybody that you send connection requests to, if they accept it, it's your first degree connections. And those folks are connected to a bunch of other folks. So, for example, I'm connected to a lot of folks. So, those folks, if let's say one of you connects with me and I'm connected with a lot of folks, then all of those folks are your second degree connections and third degree connections, and so on and so forth. So, you are in some ways connected to that bigger network one way or the other. So starting with your kind of second degree connections, for example, if you are really interested to connect with somebody who really inspires you or is in your field or works in a company that you eventually want to work in, you can start by sending a customized invitation to them. I again cannot emphasize enough on it. I get a lot of LinkedIn requests and I have no clue why I should add them. Like I have no clue why I should add you in my LinkedIn. So when you are sending a connection request, for example, to me, it would be great to put in a message why you want to connect with me. It could be a reason that you actually met with me today in this session and you want to stay connected. Whatever is that, let's say you are in the data field or cloud computing field and you want to learn more about that, so those could be the right reason to connect with me. Again, a lot of people focus on the numbers. I want to emphasize that it's not about the quantity, it is about the quality of the connections. I know people have thousands of connections, but they don't know, if I, let's say, want to go and find a job, out of those 1,000 people, who are those people who can really help you in that job search? Who are the people who really inspire you in the type of job that you want to do? Who are the people who can actually be that bridge or mentor when you need that? So think about those things when you are building connections. And I'm very, very selective in that manner to choose those folks in my connections and actually go beyond that my connections also in terms of my impact of people that I want to mentor and coach, let's say people that I want to learn from myself and go from there. So start with the power of networking is like today and again digital world, you can connect with anyone, and when you're sending that connection request, think about sending a customized message. You can actually go and easily find those connections, and you can go in there in the search. You can find through, you can search in your current employer or company or college. Let's say you want to see everybody who is the past graduate from Air University. You can go and find that. You can actually search based on your previous managers. Like there's a lot of way you can find people. You can search people based on the location, based on the area, based on the expertise, and then you can send them a connect request. Again, do not just plainly click on connect, right? Spend a couple of minutes to look at their profile and think about why you want to connect with them. There's a higher chance that they will accept your connection request if they know why you're connecting with them. Again, focus on the focus on the quality, not the quantity, and you will see greater impact on your professional network and on your job search and on your future prospects if you go that way. You can also search based on the connection length. So if you see over there, that's the number second, means that the people you are connected to and the people they are connected to. So you can actually do based on the connection length itself, the circle that I showed you earlier as well. And once you connect with them, this is the way you will send them a message. I hope that you know that where to find this and send a message. LinkedIn also has recently started this creator mode where people don't have, by default, they are the creators, where they share a lot of knowledge on LinkedIn. And the primary mode of connecting with them is to follow and not connect. So, for example, if you go on my LinkedIn profile, I am one of the creators on LinkedIn. Um, by default, you will see an option to follow me, not connect me, but there is still a way to actually connect with me. Some people have added kind of security measures. They ask for email addresses, things like that, because they don't want to connect with everybody that sends a request. So there are some things that might not be the same for everyone, but in general, think about why you want to connect them and should you connect them with it or not. And is it better to actually follow them to just kind of, let's say, if they inspire you, maybe following is a better way. So think about that also in the long run in your professional network. The other thing is like expand your network strategically. And this is again an important thing. I wish somebody would have told me when I was in college, when I was graduating, that who should I reach out to on LinkedIn. So some of the things that you can think about is like people who have something in common with you, people who work at a company that interests you or have a job that interests you, is in a field that you really want to learn, people who are able to connect you with other people in those jobs and roles and the kind of things that you want to do in future. So those could be the ones that fit the bill in the way to start that connection request. And what you should say in that message, again as an example shown earlier, who you are, why you're connecting with them, and how you came across their profile, and how can they help you. Again, if you put that little bit thought in somebody's request, they would definitely look at it and possibly provide a positive feedback. So once you are connected to somebody, there are some other things you can do in LinkedIn, right? So one of the things that I like is referrals. A lot of people I know in Pakistan still work on referrals. If you apply online, there's a higher chance that your resume goes into this big stack of resumes that nobody looks into. But if in somebody is already working in the company and they refer you a particular role in their team or their or per bigger org, there's a 4x time more likely chance that you will get hired if you have a referral. So nobody's gonna refer you if they don't know you, right? So you have to build, the first step is to build that relationship with them, build that connection with them, and over time engage online and give and do not always be on the taking edge in that sense, to give online, to like, share, things like that, comment, do other things so you are kind of visible in that sense. And if you want, you can set up one-on-one with that person over time to figure out if that person wants to mentor you, wants to be in your network, and can they help you grow in your career or not. So some of the kind of message connections when you send them is, this is an example. You can send them, let's say you really want to work in a company and you want to know about more about that job and role, you can send them this example, like this example on the stage, that hi XYZ, I'm currently exploring this career opportunity and I saw that you're working. Do you have 20 minutes or 30 minutes to talk to me over a Zoom call or Teams call or whatever call, and I look forward to hearing from you. Again, it is a more daunting thing to do if you don't know the person. If you already know the person, if you're following them for a while, you know what are their interests, so possibly you can add more kind of direct information here which relates to the work that they do. And you can establish a kind of professional bond with them after that meeting, and you can stay in with them. I have done this with a lot of folks that I mentor. I kind of direct them to other folks. I kind of work with them to figure out what's next one for them in your career. So a lot of people will not say no to this. And what is the worst that can happen? They would not respond, or they would say that they are busy. So it doesn't harm you. You can still try. So I would recommend to think about that when you look at your future prospects in terms of jobs and connections and all of that. You can, once you know a person and you can kind of rely on them and they have seen some projects from you, or they have mentored you, or they've seen some progress from you, you can request them to actually put a referral for you as well. So again, this is a template that you can use on the left hand side. You can talk about that, and there's a higher chance if the person knows you and has seen some work from you, they can do it. If they don't know you, there's a high chance they will not be able to do that. In some ways, community approach, seniors already in your university, part of like the Microsoft Student Learn Ambassador program, people who you know through these programs, there's a higher chance they would be, if they are hired at a company, there's a higher chance that they would be able to provide a referral for you as compared to a complete stranger that has never seen anything from you or doesn't know who you are. The last thing that again people don't know, maybe you might know already, that there is a way to put recommendations on your profile as well. A lot of people don't use this feature a lot. I've seen that, is you can ask a professional recommendation by other folks from your community to write down. And once they write down that recommendation, it comes to you to approve. So if somebody does not put a good recommendation, it's up to you if you want to put it on your profile or not. If you go on my LinkedIn again, you'll find 3 or 4 recommendations that are already there. And you'll see also the recommendations that I've sent to people. So depending on if you want to showcase on your LinkedIn profile, that's again a great way to put uh, what people think about you, what people who have worked with you in the past in terms of universities, who've done projects with you, or any of the other things that you've done. I do also want to say that engaging in a network is again very important. So let's say you go ahead today and create a great profile, you actually do everything right. You start the right connection request, you start building on that community, that connections around you, and you have something to good start with. But if you forget about that afterwards and you will not engage, there's a higher chance that people will not engage with you, or people will not respond when you're looking for a job or when you're looking for something else in your career, even advice and mentors and coaching also in future. So one of the great ways again is to stay connected, to link, kind of like, share, comment, invest time in those relationships. I always say that keep those connections warm. And what that warm means to me is to stay in touch from every 3 to 6 months, and something like a reminder or a message about what the other person is up to. Set up 20 minutes maybe to have a quick chat with them if they have time. And more and more, if you spend more time on LinkedIn as a social media platform, there's a bunch of other things you can do depending on how much time you have. For example, you can join groups, you can actually give testimonials and recommendations to others, and the list is kind of never ending. I'll take a pause here. Again, I'll ask Maha if you can help me if there are any questions so far. And then we'll jump into the last section is how you can find jobs and internships. Let's say you want to go to a master's program and other things.
Yes, ma'am. There are a few questions now. The first question is from Amgan Ahmed, and he says, "What pickup point we can add in our profile?
Say that question again. What?
What pickup point we can add in our profile? Maybe
Uh,
something related to highlighted element."
yeah, I don't understand that question. So if you can clarify that in chat, that would be great. Maybe we can move
Okay,
on to
we'll
the next.
head to
Yeah,
next.
yeah.
Uh, Ramsha Khalid asked that what is the best way to connect with private accounts?
Yeah, so with private accounts, I think if somebody is not like if they are staying private, there's a like lower chance that they would connect with you. So with private accounts, there are a couple of ways people keep their accounts private. One, you have to know their email address to connect with them, right? So if you don't know that, there's a high chance that you will not be able to send a connection request, but you can still follow them. So, and then if they put some things out, you can engage on their, if they put a post out, you can engage on those posts. So that is a great way to kind of start the connection. And once they've seen enough, let's say from you, there's a chance that they can connect with you. But if somebody is being private, I think you should respect the privacy in that sense and see over time if that changes, or let's say you meet them at some particular event. One thing I usually do is I usually when I go to an event, but there's a feature in LinkedIn app that you can search people around you in terms of location and see their LinkedIn profile. So I actually if I'm in a conference, I would on that feature for a bit and I will see everybody around me and I will connect at that point. So that is one way as well that you can connect with them.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Another question is, how can we get the attention of our viewers on our LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, so in terms of the people who are viewing you, there are three or four types of people that are viewing you. There is the recruiters who are looking for to fill a particular role. There's the future employer, let's say your manager or the team member who's looking to hire that somebody. So he's a hiring manager, he or she is the hiring manager. The third type of people are people who kind of inspired by you. So they're people who are in the same field, so they are the other folks. And then the fourth type of people is again your community and people that you work with, your friends and colleagues, right? So different people like gaining their attention in different spans is different, right? So if you want to gain the attention of the job seekers, we already talked about the things that you should do. You should have a good picture, you should have a good headline, you should have a good summary section, a profile that has a decent kind of skills and bunch of other stuff in it, and then the connections that go with it, right? The If you want to gain the interest of the future, like build a kind of brand, then maybe you write more posts. I'm getting a lot of feedback. So if you want to, let's say, be a thought leader in a particular field, then maybe you write blogs, you write posts, and then build your network from that. So that's another way to actually um, gain kind of the interest. And LinkedIn has this feature when you write a post, you see how many views your post is getting. So that's another thing as well to think about for the long run. And then at the end of the day, what do you want to get out of LinkedIn? So always think about that, right? When you are building the profile, think about what are you looking for when you connect with other folks. So that should be your highest priority and your most attention towards should be that. If it is job search, then make sure your LinkedIn profile is very, very tailored to the jobs that you're looking for. If your LinkedIn purpose is to connect with people like you, then make sure that you spend more time on connections, spend more time on liking, sharing, and things like that. And then depending on that, there are different ways you can do those things.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question is that how can we build our LinkedIn freelance profile unique?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you can hold on to that question, I will get to that in this section in terms of your job search and also provide you a link of where you can put a freelance services in your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, one other last question is there any way to get LinkedIn Premier free for students?
Yeah, so right now, I don't think there is a way to do that. There is 1 month free that you can get. And usually you can extend that after 1 month or get that again. So I've seen people, you get that 1 month free, let's say when you are doing job search. It's very, very kind of useful in those times. So you can get that. And once you finish it after 1 month, disable it. And after, let's say, a couple of months again, you can request again. I've seen you sometimes people still get that after that. So after the first trial period of 1 month, you can again get that. I don't think of a way, there is a way to actually get that for free. I know LinkedIn, if you take a few courses, there are some courses in terms of like end-to-end courses that provide you for about 3 months as well. And some of the communities also, for example, the work that I do with Women Who Code, we had a program last year where all the people who attended our session, for example, we gave them LinkedIn for 3 months for free. So there are programs like that, but I don't know of a way that is free for students for more than a month trial. After a month trial, as I said, you can try again after a couple of months to see if you can see that trial again or not.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. These were the questions so far. You can continue.
Okay, awesome. So I just want to jump into this last section, which is about searching for jobs, internships, and let's say colleges and schools if you want to go for the go for masters and PhDs and whatnot. And related to that is freelancing, as a question came up as well. So LinkedIn, do want to start by sharing the fact that there are 34 million plus job seekers on LinkedIn, which means that you're not the only one who's coming to LinkedIn for jobs, who's coming for LinkedIn to actually find the future prospects, be it freelancing or be it a full-time job, be it part-time job, remote work, whatever is suitable for you. So that is how many people who come on LinkedIn every week. This is not an aggregate number. This is a kind of number which changes every week, and that is a lot of folks, right? So this is a newer feature. I would say it's not that old. That you can put this thing you can see in the video on the left hand side. You can put this open to work, which is a tag in a sense for recruiters to see which of the folks are actually looking for opportunities. A lot of people, let's say you are working in a company and you don't want to share this with your company that you're looking across, there is a way to hide that with your current employer as well. So there's a small kind of button which shows that everybody who works in your company will not be able to see that green thing, but everybody else who's a recruiter is able to see open to work. So if you are afraid of your company finding out, that is a great feature to actually use. So that's one thing that you can do. Again, this will further narrow down. So let's say if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for everybody who's a software engineer, I will start with people in that location. I will start with that industry, and I'll start with everybody who's open to work, because I don't want to send notes to people who are not looking to job switch or not looking for a job, right? So this is one thing that you can definitely do. The second thing is, which is the search feature in LinkedIn for jobs is really, really great. It You can set up alerts on the type of jobs that you're looking for, and it will send you a notification of any job that matches that alert. And you can play with it for a bit to see if you've set up the right alerts or not. You can search by a particular keyword, let's say software engineer, front-end developer, back-end developer, data scientist, whatever you're looking for. You can search by company. If let's say you always want to work in one company, so you can actually search in that company if the roles are there. You can search by when the job was posted, experience level, which team or organization or function it is in, and location. So these are some things you can definitely kind of search. So as you can see over there on the top, there are a lot of things you can search in LinkedIn. You can search people in LinkedIn, you can search jobs, you can search posts, which means anybody, let's say you are interested in databases. So you can just search for posts related to databases and it will show all the posts. And maybe you'll see which are the people who are the thought provoking one in that, and you'll start following them, right? You can search for companies, you can search for groups, and then schools. In the US, colleges, universities are called schools. So you can search for those as well. So starting with a good search, knowing what you're searching for and maybe trying it out a few times, it's a great way to actually kind of build upon that. and you can see further, you can see other things you can search on once you search for jobs, which is company, experience level, location, and some of the other filters that are also available. On the right hand side, you can see there is that create search alert. So once you like what you search for and you saw some relevance kind of sorted by relevance, you can create a search alert, and every time something that pops up related to that, it will show you a notification. And you can go, and if you see if you want to apply directly on LinkedIn, or do you want to find a referral or find another process which is maybe not on LinkedIn but some other way. But this is a great way to know some company has a role that is relevant to you. So this is the second thing I was mentioning. You can build a search alert depending on how often you want to get notified, and do you want to get notified on LinkedIn and email, or just email, or vice versa or not, and then you can save it. The other thing that I really like, which is based on a machine learning algorithm in LinkedIn, this is a great way for you to know if your profile is tailored in a way it has the right keywords for the type of job that you're looking for. So if you go in this section, which is called jobs you may be interested in, it will show you the jobs that LinkedIn thinks is kind of matching your current profile. And if you go in this section and top 5 or 6 jobs are nothing related to your interest, then it is a clear sign that your LinkedIn is not tailored with the right keywords that you should kind of tailor it for. So let's say if you're looking for software engineering jobs and you go here and you find something not related to software engineering, then there's a great chance that you have not expressed your software engineering skills in your skills section, in your project section, in your past experiences section, in your LinkedIn profile. So it would be a good way for you to all of you today to go check this out and go back and update your LinkedIn profile and keep working around this and see if it gets better. This is a great way for you to know if your LinkedIn profile is tailored, and it is based on a machine learning algorithm which picks up the keywords from your profile and shows you the jobs that you might be interested in. Some of the other things you can do is recruiters on LinkedIn. Again, data is backed on the LinkedIn site shows that they actually filter on candidates sometime to see the people who actually follow their company. So let's say if you already always wanted to work in your dream company, one of the great ways is to follow that company, because that company will also be sharing their news and updates and announcements. So it would be good for you to stay in up to kind of stay in the loop. And recruiters actually look at people when, let's say, when they start their search by location and now field and industry, they actually do another filter by seeing people who follow their company. So they kind of gives them the confidence that these are the folks that are interested to know more about the company. So this is another thing you can do. Last but not least, you can actually gain some extra credit on LinkedIn. So not just what you're learning in college and school, you can do LinkedIn learning. So I myself am a LinkedIn instructor. So I did a course earlier this year, which is available on LinkedIn. On my profile, you'll find a link, free link to actually take that course as well if you want to. But there are a lot of courses. There are a lot of skill building courses. There are a lot of resume building courses. There are anything that you want to actually gain any knowledge on, LinkedIn would have a course on it, and I can truly kind of bet on that they already have something that is related to that. So you can definitely go into LinkedIn and find these courses. Again, for premium, it's free. If you don't have premium, you might have to pay some fee for that. Some of the courses are also free, no matter like if they're premium or not. So depending on what type of course that you're looking for, it's a great place to actually go and take those courses as well. There's also these critical soft skills stuff. So not just the, let's say, technical skills, there are a lot of other skills like leadership skills and other things that you can learn on LinkedIn. Let's say presentation skills, communication skills. The course that I did was bias in technology. So if you want to learn about how do you remove bias when you're building technology, that would be the course that you can go and take. There are a lot of other skills that you can take and do there. And then, of course, there is a lot of courses and content about interview prep and resources related to that. So I would highly recommend um, to go and do that. And I think 2 of those courses are free starting off when you actually go and learn about these LinkedIn kind of courses and the stuff that they offer. The other couple of things that you can do is join groups. So groups is a group of people who are similar. So for example, I am part of a few data, AI, cloud computing groups. Again, it will depend on who is the moderator of the group, how active is the group. So always when you're joining the group, go check the group chat and see like when was the last message done, how often messages are coming in, how often people are engaging, because a lot of people create groups and then they forget about it. So always join the groups that you think will add value and it's important. There are a lot of other groups that you can join outside of LinkedIn as well, so you don't need to kind of do it on LinkedIn. But the point here is like community approach is important, and people who are in the same community who are doing similar things can guide you much faster than randomly knowing or connecting with somebody that has no context of what you're doing. The other last thing, I think this is the, I don't know what happened to my slides on the left hand side, but this is the freelancing. So this is a newer service. It was actually launched in October, which is very, very, very new in LinkedIn. If you go on LinkedIn today and search for freelancing jobs, you'll find a lot of just searching on the job feature itself and search freelance, you'll find a lot of freelancing jobs, people who are looking for freelancer and vice versa. But they've added a new feature or new thing this year, which is called services. So if you go on linkedin.com/services, you'll find freelancer, and there is a 3-step process that you can register yourself as a freelancer on LinkedIn, and you can actually showcase your skills. And it will show you, if you go to that page, what are the top freelancing skills. Graphic design is a common one, technical writing is another one, and a few others. So you can find out like what are the highest in demand uh, freelancing that is happening over there. And again, as I said, it's a newer feature, so I would recommend you to try it out. Once you build a freelancing services, you have to be accredited, which means you have to do at least one project on LinkedIn using that feature. And after that, you will show up in the search basically. So when, let's say you are a email marketing expert and you do one service related to that, you will register that as a service and you'll register yourself as a freelancer and you'll set up the payment and everything. Once you do one service, you will show up as and based on the feedback and some of the other things, you will be accredited, which means that after that, future people can actually find you whenever they search for email marketing. So I will recommend you to try it out and see how that goes. It's, as I said, it's fairly new as compared to a bunch of other platforms like Upwork and Fiverr and few others that have been renowned for freelancing. So maybe you build your profiles on that pages and maybe use this as a site as well to see if it gains any interest from the future. So I hope that I answered your previous question about how do you build freelancing careers. So again, once you do a project, maybe go back and update your profile, add that to your skills, so future people can come and see your profile and see that past freelancing projects that you've done and any feedback that you've got through them as well. This is the last slide. I know I'm a bit over time here. So this is the last thing I wanted to share. Again, just the summary of everything of a LinkedIn profile. This is a great example of a LinkedIn profile that I'm showcasing here. Um, for example, starting with a great picture, starting with a header picture as well. There, that header picture is your space. Again, you can write whatever you want to write there. If you, let's say, have something to sell, something, a blog or something like that, that would be a great way to put that branded kind of thing on the top. If you don't have anything, take a default, that's also fine. Anything that you want to highlight, let's say you have a website or anything, that is a great place to put there. Then starting with your headlines, starting with the connections, information, contact information, about section, which we talked about, summary. This is a great about section. It also is actually longer than the 40 words that I mentioned. And very clearly in this about section, you can see the person has actually listed the services, the things that they are good at and the things that you can get their services from. So if you, let's say, are a consultant or a freelancer, this would be a great way to actually put in the header section, in the summary section itself, the services that you offer. And people don't have to go down into more of your profile to actually see the rest of it, and they can see right there on the top. Then the next thing is this featured section. Again, a lot of people don't know if you have anything that you have posted somewhere, a video or whatever post. It's a great thing to highlight that on the top of your profile and shows up as a feature. And it's basically a link. So it can be a link to anywhere that you want it to be. Make sure that link is working. Make sure there's a good picture that shows up as that, like in an example. And it's a great way again to summarize, and people can come quickly, visually see what you've done and click on those links and go to those links and find out more about you. Then the next section is articles and activity. Again, this goes back to my previous comment. What you do online is kind of visible. It shows you all the activity that you do. It shows the followers that you have. It shows the posts that you like. It has all the kind of activity that you do. So be careful. If you engage in something on LinkedIn, it shows up here, right? So this is a part of your LinkedIn profile. Then the next section is, of course, your experience, skills, and projects and certifications and all of the rest of the stuff. Again, within those experiences and those projects, you can add these links, which is again a newer feature. It was not there a couple of years ago. So please do that. That will also highlight like it will be more actionable, and people tend to click on links and they tend to go and find out more about you if they're interested to know. So that is kind of it. I wanted to kind of walk you through what is LinkedIn, what is your professional brand, how you can find jobs, how you can build connections on LinkedIn, and wanted to end that with this example profile. And I want to send you off with some things to do. So the first thing I want you to do is to practice your brand statement. I gave you two frameworks to actually write down your brand statement. I would highly recommend you to take some time out, write it down on a piece of paper, and keep it up to date as you grow in your career as well. And you can have different versions of the same brand statement for different things that you do. Let's say you want to try out freelancing, maybe there's a brand statement there. Maybe you want to try something else. And sometimes you're transitioning between jobs, you're changing careers, so you can have multiple brand statements as well, and that's also okay. The second thing I want you to do is work on your LinkedIn profile based on all the feedback that I gave you today, the things that you should do. And if you want to, you can share those LinkedIn profile later with me. Send me a message. I'm happy to review those with you. Or maybe all the people who took this session with you today, share with them and ask for their feedback. And feedback on the picture, feedback on the headline, feedback on the summary section. Those are the three things that bare minimal that I want you all to do, in addition to the summary, in addition to the skills and the obvious stuff like your past projects and things like that. Again, this is my link tree where you can find my LinkedIn, Twitter, and other information. Happy to connect with you, all of you, and wanted to wish you all best of luck. And this is the resources link. If you go to this resources link, you'll find the official kind of summary of this session as a job seeker, as a student, what you should add in your LinkedIn. And I would highly recommend you to look at those PDFs. That is all I had for you. Again, thank you so much for having me. And I will kind of end the screen sharing here. So I can go back to the chat and see if you have any questions.
Should I read the questions, ma'am?
Yeah, please go ahead. I am just opening the chat as well.
Okay, we have a question that which clues from the LinkedIn profile can be linked to perceived personality and skill set of the person so that we can improve the particular area of our profile?
Yeah, I think there are a few things like as you grow senior in your career, you realize like what is the most important thing that you want to highlight about yourself to the future employer, right? It goes back to that three words also that I mentioned. So if you reflect upon yourself today of who you are as a person, what is unique about you, and then if you kind of go and ask a bunch of folks around you, you will get a good perspective of that and you'll see a theme, right? When I go and ask about like myself, I know there's a particular theme that I get. A lot of people think that this is what I'm good at, right? So and over time you'll also realize that you don't have to be the right you don't have to be right the first time. So start with what is unique about you and try to highlight those in terms of the projects and the summary section and what you're passionate about in your LinkedIn profile. To me, when I'm hiring, this is something I say in our team, because I have a team that I support in Azure, and I work with a lot of folks in university recruiting and a bunch of other places. There's three features that I am looking for people. There's we call them hungry, humble, and smart. These three features are really important to me because I'm looking for people who have the growth mindset to go and learn. Because let's say you have today XYZ skills, tomorrow when you join the job, they might not be the same. Things can change. This will change over time. So you have to have that mindset that you're open to learn. So that's the first thing I'm looking for. The second thing I'm looking for is how humble you are. If you are, there is a thing called humble bragging that you can do about your projects. But if you are full of ego, you're full of like not taking feedback, there's a high chance I would not consider you for the next step, for example. And then the third thing I'm looking for is like how smart in terms of like technical smartness, like what you do, how can you answer, can you think on your feet, things like that. So these are the three things I look for. Again, ask this question to a bunch of other folks, especially industry experts, and see what they are looking for, and you'll see a certain themes. To me, the most important characteristic is that growth mindset, is the mindset that you can learn on job and you can do the things that are needed to be done, and not get hung up on this is what I do and this is how I'm going to do it, and I don't know what you're telling me, right? So that those I would say features, if you can highlight that with your projects, if you can highlight that with your summary section of what you've done in the past, that would be a great indication for me to, or for anyone to hire you, for example.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Another question is how important are skill badges on the LinkedIn profile?
Yeah, skill badges are also newer. They are, but they were not there a long time ago. So I haven't looked into the data on the LinkedIn side, like how many people actually look at that. I still think that they are a little bit lower as compared to a bunch of other things that I talked about. So if somebody really goes into your profile and goes through that and spends some time, there's a chance that they will look into your skill badges. But I don't think that's a prerequisite or that's a must-have in some ways. I do know that if let's say I'm looking for somebody who's an expert in SQL, and I really am looking for somebody who knows SQL inside out, if I go to your profile and I see a skill badge with SQL, there's a chance that there's a higher chance. But I don't have the enough data to say that a lot of people actually go and look at it or not. So I would recommend, if you're really confident in a couple of skills that you have, definitely go and do that. It wouldn't harm you, right? It's a good thing to add. But I don't know enough to say that recruiters really go and look at those skill badges, because as part of the interview process, they're actually evaluating your skills. So even if you have a skill badge, there's a chance they might not rely on it, right? So I would still recommend to go and try it out.
Okay, we'll take one or two more questions. Another question is which things differentiate an employee profile from a CEO profile? And meanwhile, ma'am is answering this question, I want you all to fill the feedback forms. The link has been dropped in the chat box.
Yeah, so I think that's an interesting question. I really believe that anyone can be a CEO if they want to be, right? So when you say an employee versus CEO, I would like to understand your thought behind it. There is this one other thing I say to a lot of my mentees is, if you believe that you need a title to be a leader, then you're terribly wrong, right? Leadership is not a title, it's an action. So I say this a lot to my mentees, especially early career folks. When you start to show up in your work and take ownership of your work, you're already a leader. Now, how you define your leadership over the years and how do you show up as a leader, it can be a separate session for future. I do talk about it a lot and what is leadership to me and what does it mean. So in terms of, if I understand your question correctly, I think in terms of CEOs, you'll see some of these big company CEOs. For example, if you go to Satya's CEO, which is Microsoft CEO, you'll see a bunch of information, you'll see a bunch of posts he does. And at the level that he is, it's basically he has a social media team who does that for him, right? He's not writing those stuff himself. Um, there again, at the end of the day, it's your online kind of professional brand. You start with what you want to showcase on your profile, you build upon that. And the main differentiation is where people, let's say I follow or I kind of look forward to, are the folks who are putting in the thoughts and the kind of leadership in place. They are sharing their thoughts, they're sharing they're sharing the best practices, and to me, those are kind of the leaders that I follow and go from there. So if you want to, let's say, grow in that side and you want to, let's say, open your own company or be a CEO, I would start building your professional network. I would start putting out what you think about, let's say, what is your vision? What do you think about the technology space or whichever space you want to take your company to, and be a thought leader in that space and go from there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope everyone has filled the feedback forms, and we have also dropped the link for resources for today's session that has been shared by Ma'am Muazma herself. Another question, and I think that will be the last question, and that question is, how will I find a good balance between working on projects and then also sharing progress on platforms like LinkedIn and blogging? Do you struggle with this too? The boy is actually saying that he works on a lot of projects, but he forgets to or procrastinates in sharing the progress of those projects on the LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I want to tell you one thing. So when I look at profiles, when I look at resumes, right? If I have, let's say, two exactly same resumes, let's assume I have exactly two same resumes, and they have everything same, same university, same courses, same everything. The one thing I will choose one or the other is the projects. So basically, I, as an engineering manager, actually go in and will go into your GitHub and actually see what you have done there. And not just the project title, I will actually go in and look you and read your README. Again, not everybody would spend that time. The reason I'm saying that is if you have done a good job in showcasing your projects and writing a decent README, and that README is good enough for me to tell and see what you have done, that is a good starting point for anyone to actually see what you have done, because that gives me confidence that when I hire you, you will be able to not only write good code, but also document what you can do. Because nobody as a software engineer, for example, likes to document, right? So I want to highlight that that starting with, so if let's say you do 10 projects, you don't have time to put all 10 in your GitHub. First of all, I would recommend put all 10 in the GitHub. If you don't have, let's say, time to put all 10 in your GitHub, choose the top 5 or top 6 one that you really want to highlight. Again, when you're writing your resume, make sure you put the top ones there, not all the projects. When you're writing on LinkedIn, you don't have to put each and every project you do, put the top ones there. But your GitHub can still have all the ones that you have done, right? Then the second thing is you go in your GitHub, you put the code there, write a good README, write a good starting guide over there. It will take maybe a few hours from your time, but it will help anyone who is coming to your GitHub page to know what this project is about. Add links there, add whatever you want to do there, add pictures, add whatever. But the better you write, the better there is a chance that people will know that you really did this work and you know what you're doing. So if you are procrastinating on like what to do, what not to do, I will write down all the projects that I've done in last 6 months or last 1 year on a piece of paper. Choose top three or top four ones. If you have a hard time choosing, ask your friend. Ask a friend to go through that list and see like what are the things that they are interesting. And I'll tell you one interesting story. I know we're over time here. So there was this one time I was applying at a role, and I had a notebook, a Jupyter notebook in my GitHub about a project that I did. which was using Game of Thrones data. This was a fun project I did, and I was just looking at Game of Thrones reviews, and I did a Jupyter notebook and I put it on my GitHub. I don't think I actually highlighted it anywhere on my LinkedIn when I did that. And when I was applying for that role, the CEO of the company actually saw that, and she sent me a message on LinkedIn saying that of a startup that they're looking for the chief data officer, and they saw this thing that I did, and do you want to come and work for us? And I was like beyond, it was like I didn't even think about that, right? I never thought about it. So that was a kind of a turning moment for me to think about like what I put out there, people do notice, right? So you never know which project would catch somebody's attention. So I would highly recommend to put all the projects on your GitHub. Start with at least 4 or 5 of them, which are interesting one. Put good documentation. Put the stuff in your LinkedIn. And if you are confused about that, ask feedback from your friends. So this, yeah. Um, I will end there. I know this is project-based learning is my favorite topic, and maybe we can do another session someday, sometime on this.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. There is just one last question, and you can briefly answer it. The question is that whether the online certificates earned from online platforms such as Coursera or Udemy stand out to the recruiters.
Yes. So online courses definitely stand out, depending on which where you take it from. So there are these days a lot of platforms, Coursera, Udemy, Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learning. These are really like good places. So if you have taken those courses, again, when you're taking that course, highly recommend take the courses which have projects. So especially if you're taking a technical course, take the course which has a capstone project at the end. And then what will help you is that when you do that capstone project, again, add that to your GitHub, add that to your LinkedIn profile, and go from there. Again, on the data side, a lot of recruiters really don't look at projects; they look at your overall profile. But what we see is like hiring managers and people who are actually hiring you in teams, they are the ones who actually look at those projects. So recruiters really don't look at a lot of projects. They actually look at high level your resume is what you've done, is it relevant or not? Um, but when your resume or your LinkedIn profile ends up with the hiring manager, they actually look at that. So definitely courses help, but not just like don't only rely on courses. Again, going back to that, think about that 360-degree view, think about the projects that you do, think about highlighting who you are as a person, what is unique about you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. I hope everyone's queries have been resolved, and I would like to extend my gratitude and thank you for joining us today in this session. You took time for us, and we are very thankful for you. And we hope to connect with you on LinkedIn. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was great. And I know we went way over time, but hope you all get a very good LinkedIn profile after this, and feel free to share that with everybody else.
Okay, thank you so much. You all